advisor at the Shelley and Donald Rubin Foundation in New York, and I am curator of the Rubin's private collection. We're very lucky today to have in the audience many scholars who I might lean on here and there for questions and answers throughout. I'd love to keep this really informal. We also are lucky enough to have one artist here, Tenzin Rigdal, who is one of the stars of the show and has come up from Queens, from New York City. And I won't single him out yet, but he is here. It's probably best to orient you and give you a little bit of history about the beginning of the contemporary collection. It started on 17th Street in an old factory and office that I built for the Rubins. I joined the Rubin family right after they were selling their company called Multiplan, HAR, Himalayan Art Resource, and TBRC, the Tibetan Buddhist Resource, moved into our offices with us, and we quickly set up shop. Donald had been accustomed to buying traditional Tibetan art from dealers who came to him. As he always says, you know, when you have money or when people know you're interested, the art comes to you. And this continued to happen in the private offices. Very swiftly when we opened the doors, art dealers, artists started coming to visit us, along with all of the lamas and entourages that were coming to see Gene Smith over many years. So art dealers started bringing art and spreading it out on our conference room, and this was my very first introduction to contemporary Tibetan art. I've come from a completely Western art history background, was accustomed to studying individual artists and movements. Certainly there's a lot of self-expression in Western art, and I was completely unfamiliar not only with the Tibetan geographic region, the languages, the traditions, the culture. I learned everything that I know, which is only a little bit more than I knew 7 years ago, through spending all day, every day with Gene Smith and Jeff Watt and the curators and the staff at the Rubin Museum. So paintings started to appear. I looked at things for some time, and it wasn't really until an artist named Pemba Wangdu, who's in this show, appeared, and he was an artist with very traditional skills. He had been trained as a Tanka painter. He still resides in Lhasa. It wasn't until these works, 3 of the 5 mental poisons, appeared in our office that I was inspired and sort of came to understand what I was witnessing, and also wanted to incorporate traditional work, which is behind you, also from the Rubin collection, to bring this work into context and to see how quickly the tradition has changed from the material that you see behind you, a very traditional tanka, a mandala, a wrathful deity, to see where we are here with Dedron, one of the first artists that I met, one of the only women in the collection and one of the only women contemporary Tibetan artists. You can see she's very strongly influenced by tradition. As you can imagine, a lot of the traditional skills come from years spent in monastery, and it's a world dominated by monks and men. So here you have a woman who has essentially painted, as I see it, a self-portrait. Even though we see the Renaissance classic Mona Lisa, we see a highly stylized Mona Lisa with very traditional jewelry, earrings, necklace, adorned by Tibetan style hoofs of clouds and fish and birds with incredible plumage. To me, this is a very strong statement about the environment and the damage that's been done to the environment in Lhasa and China, and she's wearing a face mask to protect her from the pollution. Here we have the artist Dade. He lives in Lhasa as well. He's half Tibetan, half Chinese. He has several pieces in the show. You can, again, take this moment to compare this contemporary tanka to a very traditional tanka. You have a central deity, much like the tanka right here, with surrounding teachers. Of course, they're all in camouflage, all in military garb. You have Ronald McDonald and Shrek at the top, Mickey Mouse as a skull, and also all of these arms holding, knives and guns and a little red book with a smiley face on it. Here, you can see one of the most prolific, one of the most versatile artists in the stable of contemporary Tibetan art. Tenzin is probably most well known for this style. He's combining collage of traditional Tibetan scripture, hecha, with brocade, with magazine and silk applique. We also have, again, this monumental 208-inch long canvas that he created when given this canvas by the director of the University of Iowa Museum, Sean O'Hara. Tenzin created this in residence there at the Iowa International Writers' Workshop. It's called Kriti, From Ashes to Agony. It's a direct response to the 11 immolations at the Kriti Monastery. This artist is Losang Gyatso. He actually lives in Virginia. He has a really interesting life story. His family was on one-year pilgrimage in 1959, and his family never returned to Lhasa again. He was raised between the UK in boarding school, and then when he was older, came to school in the US and had a pretty successful career in advertising and is now the head of the Tibetan Voice of America based out of Virginia. This is a very, very different work from many in the show. Not only are these digital images that are printed on metal, they're depicting monks from two different monasteries, the Lebrang and the Jokang monastery. So the 6 on the top are Lebrang, 6 on the bottom are the Jokang monastery. These images are taken from news footage, taken off the TV, and blown up, so the identity of the monks is protected. Again, here we have Tsering Sherpa, who's Oakland-based. He was born and raised in Kathmandu, first generation in his family, born in exile. His father is a traditional Tibetan tanka painter, and he apprenticed under his father's direction for many, many years. There's several pieces in the show by Tsering. He's incredibly prolific and has lots of different influences, but you can see he's sticking to a very traditional theme here, lots of gold leaf to accumulate merit. And you can, if you pause for a moment, you can sort of reconstitute the deity, the protector deity that is spun. He described to me from the very beginning when I met him about 6 years ago, very, very strong fears of changing the strict formulas and yet trying to find a way to express himself in a more contemporary vocabulary. He also described to me that he'd probably painted green Tara, 150 times, and that he was very hungry when he came to the West to change his painting style, but he was also incredibly fearful. He was afraid what his family would think. He was afraid certainly what his teacher would think, and over time he of course has gotten many blessings, and of course had to explain what he's doing to many people. Right here we have Dorje Drakten and of course Kiss, Gene Simmons. Traditional Tibetan deity here with his tongue out, and Gene Simmons also here with his tongue out. These are made of very, very lightweight plastic. He's burned holes through these sheets of plastic and created these two larger-than-life faces. Thanks.
So can I ask everyone to help join me in a round of applause?